and probably those of you who did in other sessions know what I'm going to say. Welcome to the 11th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference presented by Northeastern State University. Session today is one of the 60-hour-long sessions we have through Friday the 14th. I'm Bob Ailes. I'm your moderator for the session. We have Michelle, who is closed captioning all of our sessions. To view the captions, simply click on the closed caption icon on the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. Our session today is the impact of quality assurance reviews online courses. And we have with us Angela Jackson, who's the online program manager for the University of South Dakota. And they have a really good football team, right?
Yeah.
Did they win the national championship this year?
That's a great question. I don't remember. I know our women's basketball team did really, really well.
Yeah. So, among other things, she's also the institutional representative on the statewide accessibility task force for the South Dakota Border Regions, and co-chair of the University of South Dakota Digital Accessibility Committee. And that's just in the morning she does all those things, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me turn it over to Angela now. It's all yours.
Welcome. So I'm really excited to be sharing with all of you about our online quality assurance process that we utilize here at the University of South Dakota, and I want to talk about specifically how we use that to impact student success, student retention, and student satisfaction in our online courses. So as the online program manager, I spend 99.5% of my time working with online faculty and in a variety of different capacities. And we do faculty development. I'm also the course reviewer for our institution. I also assist our compliance officer, Eric Mostard, who helped assist in the creation of these materials today. He's my direct supervisor. He also is a fellow representative on the technical side with the South Dakota Border Regents. A few housekeeping things. I put together all of the materials for today's presentation. They're all freely available for you to look at and access. And to make it easy for you, I put together, if I can pull it up here, a QR code here that you can just, if you have your cell phone with you, your mobile phone or device, you can just snap this QR code and you'll get access to all the materials that I'm using today. And these materials I can also make available after the presentation. So this is a presentation that Eric and I partially presented last year at EDUCAUSE, if you're familiar with that conference. And then we've presented at several other conferences talking about how South Dakota Border Regents implements this quality assurance process. So without further ado, I do have a brief PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to walk through. It's actually done in Google Slides. And I'm going to walk through this, and then if you have any questions, feel free to put those into the chat box. I think Bob is going to be helping us moderate those, but as we're going through, if you have questions, let me know. So like I said, Eric Mostard is the Assistant Director of the Center for Teaching and Learning here at the University of South Dakota. And I've been at the university for 5 years in the role of Program Manager. And since that time, I've also become the Digital Accessibility Coordinator for our campus. So I do a lot of the accessibility work. This presentation won't dive into that too much, but our quality assurance process does cover accessibility. So I want to talk a little bit about how we are able to bring that into the fold when we're working with faculty who are designing courses. I don't know if there's a polling feature in the participants window. I see there's a yes and no, but I'm just curious, how many of you are involved in the quality assurance process, or maybe you're a peer reviewer? I think there's a yes. Is there a yes that we can click on? Oh yeah, there's a check mark that I see on my participants window. So I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Okay, I see some of you popping up now. There we go. So on the bottom of the participants window, there's a yes and a no button. So okay, so a few, got a couple. Okay, I was just curious how many were actively doing that or actively involved in that. Maybe you're peer reviewing or you're a mentor for other faculty that maybe you use Quality Matters. We use a version that's um, been derived from portions of the Quality Matters, but we have our own homegrown one, which I'll show you in a moment. Okay. So the overview today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the University of South Dakota, just kind of frame the size of our institution, some of our challenges with rolling out online quality assurance. And I should back up and say that our quality assurance process, we only do that for online and hybrid courses. We do not do that currently for our Dakota Digital Network courses, or what we refer to as DDN. Those are the live broadcast courses that go out to all the different schools around the state. We don't do it that, and we don't do the face-to-face. So this is just either online or hybrid that goes through this process. So we'll talk about our approach to it, and then we're going to dig into the data and how we use our IDEA evaluation data and another survey that we give to our students called the Zeitgeist survey or the Early Alert survey, and how we use that data also to impact our faculty training and development to encourage and improve on our course design work to improve student satisfaction. So just a little bit about us. We are a public liberal arts university. We're small in terms of enrollment. We're right about 10,000. We offer about 202 undergraduate programs, 78 graduate programs. 50 of those are offered completely online. And I don't know if USD is in the same position as other institutions, but our online program has grown 300% in the last, I think, 7 years. And the 5 years that I've been here, it's doubled in size. So we've doubled the number of online programs just across the board. Pretty much everything is doubled. And we have about 200 online faculty teaching for us in any given term. So largely my role is to mentor, support, and provide faculty development opportunities for those 200 or so online faculty that are teaching the courses that we offer online. In terms of online numbers, we're right at about 500 courses every semester, but some of those are cross-listed. So if we take those out, we have about 200 faculty teaching about 350 courses. Some faculty are teaching more than one course. Some are adjuncts that teach for us only one semester or one class a year, and then we have some adjuncts that are teaching for us a couple times a semester, a couple times a year. We do have also tenured faculty, full-time faculty that are also teaching online for us. It just depends on the school. The School of Law, we're the only school in the state that has a School of Law, School of Medicine. We have a College of Fine Arts. So those kind of make us unique across the state. A little bit about the Center for Teaching and Learning. We have, it's in terms of size, we're very small. However, we've just recently expanded, but normally we have somewhere around 20 total faculty support staff between our GTAs and our full-time faculty and office support. And then we also have undergraduate tech fellows assisting us as well. So in terms of a center, we're quite small. So we wear a lot of different hats. Some of the major initiatives that we're looking at this next year, I mean, the Open Textbook Fellowship, Open Textbooks has been a big conversation for us, finding ways to reduce costs on textbooks, and teaching and diversity and student scholarships. Obviously, instructional design support is a big part of what we do, and then the online quality assurance is a pretty big part of what we do as well. So we involved in a lot of different projects across campus. So there's a picture of my colleague there, Eric Mostard. He's also an adjunct professor of music, and both of us have undergraduate degrees in computer science and computer information systems. So for us, it augments nicely into our additional works. I have my master's in technology for education and training, and I'm currently working on my doctorate in that same area. So Eric and I are nice complements to each other because we have kind of that techie background. So again, as I mentioned earlier, our challenges, we have a very low FTE in terms of instructional support staff. We're pretty low, and in terms of like for the online side. So we share a lot of different things, and we do have IT that backs us up because we do all the D2L or LMS support for our campus as well. And like I said, we support about 50 online programs. Now, some of our challenges: we are academically, administratively decentralized, like some campuses, and there is no pay for instructors who go through this training. So what I'm going to show you today and talk about with our quality assurance process is the faculty do not get compensated. They don't get stipends. It does take about 10 to 20 hours of their time. It's part of their contractual agreement that when they sign on with us to teach, that they have to go through this training before they teach, not after. So there needs to be some, some time. We usually try to get them into the training at least 2 months before the semester starts. And I have some data that shows how effective that is versus waiting until, the day before, which sometimes happens. Faculty leave at the last minute for a variety of reasons, and we have to find a replacement instructor. But the Board of Regents has a very, or has a set policy, I should say. I don't want to say it's very strict, but it's a set policy that all instructors teaching online within the Board of Regents systems has to go through our online training before they teach. So that part of that QA process is bridged into that training. So like I said, we do this just-in-time training. Here, Eric mentions just 30 days before the start of the semester, but really I like to start earlier than that, because part of that, we have to help the faculty member build the course. We help them with course design as well, and sometimes that can take some time to get them through. And for the quality assurance process, we do ask that the first 4 weeks of content is completely built for the initial review. So we're not asking instructors to have the full 60. We're on a 16-week semester term and a 12-week summer. So for them to get 16 weeks done, especially when they're coming in, is quite a bit. So what we do is we do the QA review based on the first 4 weeks of content that's completely developed, as well as some course documents, which I'll explain a little bit more. So, so we have this. Our training is broken down into both synchronous and asynchronous components, although this year we are transitioning it into where it's going to be all asynchronous. So currently, Eric and I split the training. I do the introduction to online teaching and learning, and Eric does the instructional design best practices piece, where he kind of walks them through the design aspects of it in D2L. His training and my training combined has been, just those 2 sessions, has been 5 hours, and that seems like a lot for a new instructor. So we've been trying to get that down and to have both of those offered in an asynchronous manner in smaller segments, and then I can meet individually with the faculty members. So again, we're just kind of working to move it all asynchronous. We do also have policies, processes, technology, and digital accessibility asynchronous training modules built into our training, which is housed all in our LMS system. There are assessments built into the system, so they have to pass one assessment in order to move on to the next step of their training. So it's kind of a scaffolding approach as they're moving through the training. And then the last step is the actual quality assurance review of their course. So I'll show that more about that in just a moment. So the IDEA instructor excellence expectation. So here's kind of like that bell curve of the IDEA ranking band. So this is how we kind of also compare based on the IDEA evaluation. I'm sure most of you or some of you may use the idea of formal IDEA evaluation in terms of evaluating your online courses. There's others out there, but we use the IDEA. So I'm going to share that information from how we use the IDEA data in order to tell us and follow how our online courses are going. So this is before my time, so I'm going to do my best to kind of explain this chart, but I started in 2015, so before my time, as you can see, they started tracking how the online instructor excellence was going, and as you can see from this, it was kind of up and down. It was kind of going in the wrong direction. So as a solution to this, they worked on this training and online quality assurance process, and the team here working with the center for distance education, as well as the Center for Teaching and Learning. They revamped it and and improved the numbers greatly afterwards. But some of the reasons why that they were having this problem is, training was maybe not effective. They were experiencing double-digit growth in online at this time. Maybe that was part of the problem. They were shifting to using different kinds of, of instructors. Some were volunteers, some were adjuncts. So there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of students wanted an entire online program. So in that time frame, there was a lot happening at USD with trying to move all the programs online and getting instructors trained to teach online, because I'm sure most of you have probably, or some of you have experienced that hesitance or resistance to teach online can be there. We even had some faculty who just straight up refused to teach online because they, this is not something, the modality that they really felt comfortable with at the time. So there was a lot of little hurdles along the way. So they decided to kind of shift things. So they used data and research. They looked at Quality Matters, EDUCAUSE, the IDEA on the national side, as well as IDEA data from our own institutions. And they also did some IDEA method correlations to look at the top 5 things that students were rating an instructor as excellent on. So they took this data and they said, okay, how can we, looking at these top 5 things, these that affect instructor rating, how can we make it more meaningful for students and their academic performance? And so after they did the revamp, this is the number started going up. We had a little bit of a dip in 2019 spring because we switched our student information systems to Banner. So we made a big change there, and it was a 2018 fall and 2019 spring was, we were shifting into a new student information system. So I think that may have some effect on the data, but overall it's been trending in the right direction. So here I wanted to share with you some really interesting data. So we track the actual date when a faculty member activates their course and puts content in their course. And we correlate that, as well as their training dates, to their IDEA and ratings of instruction, their on effectiveness and excellence in teaching. So as you can see, the red column represents faculty that were trained less than 30 days. And then the middle number represents the overall number inclusive of that, and then there was the overall exclusive of that. So you can see there's a little bit of a drop when instructors are trained closer to the term startup date. We see that their student evaluation scores are lower than those faculty who receive the training 30 to 60 days out. This trend and this data has been consistent for the 5 years that we've been tracking it. The closer you get to the term startup date, so for example, if a faculty member gets assigned 5 days before the semester starts, they seem to struggle the whole semester, and it's reflected in their course evaluation as well. And we've looked at this and trying to figure out, is there something else we can do to help the instructor? Just generally, the instructor feels they're in catch-up mode the whole semester, and they're just trying to, stay on top of things because they got assigned so late. That may be one of the things. We're still researching this data more. We're still trying to put more things in place to try to prevent that. But like I said, things happen, instructors resign at the last minute, and the course still needs to go. We don't cancel a course unless we can't find an instructor to teach it. But that's the department's decision. Once that a faculty member is assigned, then that individual's name is given to me, and then I carry them, I walk them through that process. So before my time, USD started another survey. They started surveying the students in the first 4 weeks. So the IDEA evaluation goes out like in the last 3 to 4 weeks of the semester, 3 weeks of the semester, whereas the Zeitgeist survey goes out the first 4 weeks. In fact, that survey is going out this week here at USD. And what that Zeitgeist survey does is it gives us we're doing it more as a formative evaluation piece. We're trying to be proactive in the process so we can catch those issues before that they get to the end of the semester when there's nothing we can do about it. So we started, implementing this 2 surveys a semester. So every online student that's taking a full-term course, full 16-week course, gets 2 evaluations to fill out, one in the first 4 weeks and then one in the last 4 weeks. Now, this was initially designed for first-time online instructors when they first rolled this out, but later it was expanded to all online instructors. So the feedback is collected and shared with instructors. So what happens is when that survey goes out, and I'm going to share some of that data with you, what that looks like and how we collate that, and then disseminate that to our instructors. But largely, that Eric and I collect that data. It's informal data, so it's not given to the deans and department chairs. That's a conversation between me and the faculty member. So I reach out to them and say, hey, we got the results back. Would you like the results? And then I send them the results of the survey. I actually have, if you, in part of this presentation, I have the actual survey we send out to the students, so you'll get a copy of that as well. So that information is shared with the instructor, and we use that as a way to continually work with that faculty member to improve course excellence, not only on the design side, but also on the pedagogy side. So if a student, if we're seeing a trend where multiple students are having an issue with the course, that gives us an opportunity to reach out to the faculty member, work on those issues before it creates a problem later on. And this approach has been hugely successful in improving our course ratings. In fact, now our online course satisfaction rankings are actually higher than face-to-face. For the first time ever, online exceeded face-to-face last year in course satisfaction by our students. So we know we're going in the right direction. And we constantly encourage students to fill out the survey. Right, last semester we had last semester 10% of our students filled out the survey. So it's been working fairly well for us. Now, it doesn't give us it just gives us a snapshot, I guess, of how things are going. So again, the Zeitgeist survey primarily helps us identify problems with specific courses early in the semester. The courses that receive the most responses often overwhelmingly have positive feedback, and we do share the positive with the faculty. We share everything with them, the good and the bad. They get everything. And then, of course, if there are issues, that gives us the opportunity to work with them one-on-one. We have had on a couple of occasions significant issues that we found with the course that usually has to do with a design problem, and we were able to work with the faculty member to fix that. And that was another very positive turnaround in that course. So those are just some examples of how we use that particular survey. So I'm going to jump back over and show you the actual standards. So here's a link to the South Dakota Board of Regents online. We just call it the QA rubric. Now, the last revision of this one was in 2017, but we're in the process of updating that to 2019, or actually 2020. It was supposed to be reviewed in 2019, but they didn't get around to it yet. But as you can see here, all of the faculty members, in order to pass the QA review, they have to achieve meeting all the required standards. So at the end of their training, if they're teaching that course for the first time, then they have to go through this quality assurance review. I think there's like 80 different points in each standard. Now, this is partly based on Quality Matters, but not entirely. There's several, let me see if I can pull it up here if I go to references. I apologize, this kind of looks kind of smushy here on the page, but I have it enlarged. But these are all of the different references and resources that they used in order to create this QA rubric. So it's definitely a homegrown one. It's not one that we just, some of you may use Quality Matters, which is very popular. We just use bits and pieces of different ones. You can probably recognize some of these here. And then we have a template, which I believe is also provided to you in this information pack, that you can see how we record that. So everything is tracked in just Google Spreadsheets, which is linked to a large database. So we know and we can track course activations and training by instructor, by term, and then with exact dates. And then we run that and compare that to the IDEA evaluations, and that's how we get that information. Okay. Now the other one I wanted to show you, let's go back here. Is this data? One moment here, I'm just going to get a quick drink. Okay. We have our heaters running here in South Dakota full time, so it dries my office out. Okay, so when we published the Zeitgeist survey data, we put together a little infographic, and this just goes to our basically administration on campus, and they can share this out then with the chairs and the deans. Did you have a question?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good.
Hold on just a second.
Does anybody have a question so far? Are we all good?
Okay. Now
Okay, I do see one from Emery. I'd be curious to hear what factors went into going to the homegrown one over with the homegrown over quality matters. Okay, so I think I showed you.
I'm just I'm one.
Okay, I think we got some background noise. Okay, good. So the references that I showed you, so I didn't. That's a great question, but that was kind of before my time, and I wish Eric was here today. And all of the factors, there was a team at the Board of Regents level that Eric is a part of that evaluated all of these external references that I was showing you earlier. So they evaluated all of these, and then they kind of pulled and created their own revised version based on all of these references. So I'm not really sure how they determined which ones to use and which ones not to use. I know, for example, if we look at accessibility, this is kind of like a big one. Now, number 3 here, where it says recommended, this one is being changed to required now with the with everything that's going on. They had it recommended for 2 years, but this hasn't been updated yet. But this one actually is required, and so we just rolled out a new policy at the university level that requires our institutional online courses to comply with WCAG 2.0. So now 2.1. And that's mentioned down here at the bottom. So at the bottom of each of these, there's also references, and you can look those up. I provide the link to all of you. You can go in and see the references for each of these and where they came from. So they're mentioned at the bottom of each standard. Now, obviously, when you look at this, this is a very downscaled list of WCAG 2.0. If you're looking at this going, well, that's not the whole list. No, it's not. All of you know that when you're training faculty and you ask them to look at the WCAG 2.0 list of criteria, they go into panic mode. So we don't do that to them. We scale it down to like the top 10 that they need to do, and we focus on that. And then we provide them additional training on how to do it. So this is something that the Board of Regents put together as a starting point to make sure that when they're designing their course, that they're designing it with accessibility in mind. So they have to pass this standard. Okay. So going back to the Zeitgeist survey, this is just an infographic. We collate that data that comes back. Eric kind of puts this together so you can see that in 2019 fall, we don't have our spring data yet, 82% of the respondents, our students, rated their overall experience as above average. And we had, I don't know, about 10.6% response rate. So we asked them questions that on a Likert scale of 1 to 5, and I think also there's some additional questions asking about, demographics, background information, where they're connecting from, what part of the country, what they liked and disliked about the course. There's also an area where they can leave comments and ask someone if they want to talk to someone at the university about their experience. There's an option in the survey that they can leave their name and phone number. Otherwise, it's anonymous. So we don't know their names are not affiliated with this at all. So it's completely anonymous. We share this data largely as part of our training, just to give the faculty members, the new faculty members who are coming on board with us, an idea of who our students are. just so that they have a better understanding, where they're coming from. Just like most universities, our online programs are largely students who are more than 50 miles away from campus. So more of that is, we're just seeing these trends where more and more students outside the central time zone are enrolling in our USD online programs. And so we just provide all of this data. And the other thing that we are trying to better understand is, as you know, South Dakota has a rural broadband problem. We don't have good rural broadband, outside of the populated areas of our state. So for students who are in those areas where they don't have access to internet, it becomes difficult for them. So we're trying to also encourage the state to put in more broadband in these rural areas so people can take our classes. But as you can see, only 51% of the students are using broadband access. And we talk about why, in the design part, why that's important. Designing your courses with, compress your images before you put them up online. When you're building your PowerPoints, compress those images, compress the PowerPoints, make them as small as possible, and use file size and file types that are universal so that they work both on a mobile device as well as a laptop or desktop device. We want the faculty, encourage the faculty to design their courses so that they're mobile friendly. And then we track information like age and if they've taken an online course. And do our dual credit students, we have our high school students who are enrolled in one of our first or second year programs, and then how many students are pursuing a fully online degree. So it ranges about 1/3 to about 40, maybe 33 to 40% of the students typically that complete the survey are pursuing a fully online degree at USD. So so this goes out to undergraduate as well as graduate students. We also have certificate programs, and those students who are in those certificate programs full-time are also included in this survey. So again, this is a survey that goes out in the first 4 weeks of the semester. We collect a lot of data, which is very helpful for us in our annual training. And as well as our, we have an annual training that we do with all online faculty, and then we have an additional training that we do with individual, what we call onboarding, the new instructor onboarding process. Okay, so then I wanted to go and actually show you, we have a community of online faculty, and this is all of our training materials are housed within our learning management system, which is D12 by Brightspace. And we try to create a faculty community and just kind of let everybody get to know each other and just to share with each other, to share out. So we try to keep and foster communications in here, much like you would if you were teaching an online class. So this is the first place a new instructor will be directed to. They're enrolled in this course. They get to know their other faculty that are part of their kind of their peers or their cohorts that they're teaching with. And then we just basically keep all of our training materials in the content area, and basically, I'll just click on the overview. They're guided through the training process. Like I said, this whole process is being moved over to being 100% asynchronous now, but largely we walk them through the whole 5-step process in our training. The one that we just added, we added quite a big one regarding digital accessibility. So when they go through our training now, they do have to go through a required digital accessibility training. We also have our own online faculty handbook that we provide to our online faculty, which really helps a lot because we have a lot of things that pertain just to online that don't pertain to face-to-face. So we try to have a separate handbook for them, as well as we provide them, sample syllabi and different things to help them get started. Some departments have their own templates that they want their faculty to use, both on the course side and with their syllabi. So we work with the departments, whatever those needs are. But some come to us and say, we don't have anything. We don't have a syllabus. We don't have a course design. We got to start at ground zero. And usually the first thing I do is, okay, guys, we're going to start right here at introduction, and we're going to start going through this, because when you design your course, you need to design your course according to the Board of Regents standards for online. And so that's really where we kind of start with them. It's just introducing them to USD Online and then to our online and distance education programs, and just kind of start from there and then walk them through. And this whole process takes about, I don't know, probably 10 hours, total about 10 hours, not including the technical support. Some faculty need more support than others based on the technology that they're integrating into their course. See if this is going to pop up. Okay. So this is kind of a visual overview of that process that I was explaining, what a new instructor has to go through. So the introduction to online teaching, then they go through our policies and procedures. And as you can see, as they're going through the different steps, there's some synchronous steps in here. That, like I said, those are moving asynchronous now. We just had a lot of feedback from faculty that it's just hard for them to meet with us one-on-one over Zoom. And it just, due to just their hours and things like that, trying to coordinate it. And we were doing a lot of Saturday and Sunday trainings, trying to get people through. And that was just resource intensive on our staff at the CTL, because we all work 8 to 5, and then we have to work, weekends and nights to accommodate the adjuncts. And so that part gets to be a little stressful at the beginning of the term, trying to get everybody through that first day. So we just thought moving this to an asynchronous training would be a lot easier for everyone involved. So this process in itself is mandated by the South Dakota Board of Regents. So every institution in our state has to have a QA process for online courses, but each institution gets to decide what entity on campus is responsible for it, and then how it's going to flow. And so this was the one that was developed back in 2006, way before my time. How the process goes for a new instructor. And then of course we also review courses every 3 years. So if an instructor is teaching it the same course for 3 years, then it is triggered to go back through the review process. And we do ask the departments to get involved in the process as well. They fill out what's called a content approval form. We're not the content experts, they are. So we ask that the department chair or a delegated individual from the department is also involved in the process to look at things like course objectives, the activities match the course objectives, and those kinds of things. Although we can help them with that, we just want the departments to just double check that it meets their accreditation, because some of these are licensure programs like nursing and things like that, and they know their licensure programs better than we do, so they want to make sure that those are met in the process as well. So as you can see, there's some milestones on the left-hand side. There's a little box, and you can see there, milestone 1, 3 months prior to the course start date. So boy, wouldn't it be really nice if we could get all the online faculty trained and through the quality assurance process 3 months before the semester starts. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, but it's kind of like a goal. But we definitely find that if we start the process 2 weeks before the semester starts, it gets a little tight to try to get them through everything, especially if they're full-time working practitioners that are also part-time adjuncts for us. It's a lot for them. So we have some flexibility. Is it work perfectly? No. There are situations where faculty members get assigned at the last minute, and their training actually doesn't happen until after the semester starts. Those are rare. Maybe only happens once or twice a semester, but that does happen. So obviously there's some considerations for those kinds of cases. And being that we're just about out of time, I'm going to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions or would like additional information about anything that I've shared, I've done a lot of talking, so I thought maybe any questions on anything, anything you'd like me to expand on? I suppose one thing else I could probably show you while we're talking about it is our digital accessibility training. So we created this in response to some requests from faculty that wanted specific training on digital accessibility. We got a question here. Was a primary concern or question faculty typically struggling with your online? Was a primary concern or question with faculty typically struggling with your online training? The primary primary concern actually are twofold. One is the amount of time that it takes, because our training is pretty intense. It takes, like I said, about 10 hours of their time, and they don't get paid for that. So it's what they would love to get a stipend, and we've been arguing to get them a stipend to make it worth their time, to be able to take, out of their busy schedule, to take that 10 hours to get at least something for the work that they put into it, because it is a lot of work. We do offer them a certificate. Once they're done with their training, they get 2 certificates, one for introduction to online teaching and learning, and then they get another one for the digital, when they complete the digital accessibility training. They will get another certificate when they complete this course. So I think the largest one I have is the time, and just they feel like they should get compensated. Does faculty have to complete the training on campus, or can they do it online? That's a great question. Because this is this is geared for only our online courses, the entire thing is meant to be done over Zoom or asynchronously through, on their home computer. So no, they don't have to be on campus. Some faculty will come over to my office, but 90% of the training that I do with faculty is all done through Zoom. Because it is a time investment and there's not a stipend, does your office experience pushback from faculty, especially those who have taught online previously? Yes, we do. That's a great question. Absolutely, do we? And I think that any institution that's rolling out a quality assurance program or is trying to follow a federal mandate, especially with this digital accessibility stuff and trying to be compliant with federal law, faculty struggle with when you tell them, hey, because the law says we have to do this, you have to do this. That's not, they don't understand that. So we try to incentivize it, I think that's the word I'm looking for, using the carrot kind of approach, and just try to encourage them in different ways. We have statement of achievement awards that we give. Now we're looking at a badging system and giving awards for faculty who complete the training and continue to stay up on their training. So yeah, we do get a little bit of pushback. And those who've taught online previously too, because yeah. Have we created specific training for faculty members who have over 10 years experience teaching online? That is a really great question. Actually, we haven't, and we were just talking about that because we had some faculty members who feel like they want advanced training on D2L. We do have workshops. We offer several workshops every semester on advanced teaching, online pedagogy, and as well as advanced design concepts. And you're right, that would be a great thing to augment what we're already doing, is to create we've been talking about that, about creating some modules that are for more of the faculty that have a bit more experience teaching online and want to take it to the next level. So most of the training that you're looking at now are for like our beginning or mid-level, mid-career type faculty who have some experience or just a little bit. But that's a good question. Anything else? I'll go back and bring up that QR code again. If any of you are interested in getting access to all of these documents, if you just scan that QR code, then, and I can provide this to all of you as well. My email address, I don't even know if I haven't, I'm sorry I didn't put it on the presentation. It's angela.jackson@usd.edu. I'll type it in the chat box so you can bookmark it. I'll be glad to share any of the materials we have or answer questions from anyone after the session is over. If you'd like more information about, how we facilitate this or how we track this. I didn't go into the tracking system, and we won't have time to do that today, but we have a very sophisticated tracking system that runs on the back end that tracks all of this data for us and helps us integrate that into our survey results. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm glad that I was able to be here today, and I'm glad that I was invited and I was able to share this information, and I hope that most of you found it useful and you learned something from it. Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today.
Well, I found things I could steal from you. It's great. This is great information. We should probably talk more.
Yes.
Share.
Absolutely, absolutely. For people who make that argument that the quality assurance process doesn't make a difference, we're proving it otherwise. We're really able to demonstrate to administratively that that the online course quality assurance process does improve student satisfaction with our online courses. So, and that's really what we're the whole core of why we do this. We really want to make it a positive experience for our students and give them they're paying for this, so we want to make sure that they get the best value for what they're paying for, so they're getting a good quality level of instruction.
Oh, thank you, Angela. I appreciate you taking the time to do this for us. And I thank the people who joined for the session. And so at the top of the hour, we have another session coming up. And there's nothing better to do on a Friday afternoon, but come to one of our sessions. Anyway, thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Bob.